Hello and welcome to the Meet the Keynote video for the Queensland Summits for 2018. Today we're going to be talking about two great events coming up this September and October in Queensland, Australia. My name is Anthony Speranza. I'm the ICT leading teacher leader at a school here in Melbourne. I'll be leading the Rockhampton event towards the end of September. And we're joined today also by Chris, who will be leading Townsville. Hi, Chris.
G'day, Anthony. How you doing?
Good, thank you. And I know Chris resides in Sydney, but you're not in Sydney at the moment, are you?
No, I'm actually in Atlanta, Georgia, in the deep south, y'all. Been over here doing some work with summits and things over here.
Awesome. So, Chris, we've got a special guest with us today. Holly Clark will be the keynote for both Rockhampton and Townsville events. So, hi, Holly. How you going?
How you going? I'm going good, I think.
Excellent. Hey, Holly, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about your teaching and education experience and what your current role is.
Well, quickly, right now I'm full-time with edtech.team, but edtech.team is allows me to still be in a school, and so I'm also the executive director of innovative learning at Oak Hill Academy here outside of San Diego. So I'm still working with kids. I've been working in a school environment for 25 years, and I'm also the author of the Google Infused Classroom. So that's kind of the gist of me.
Excellent. We're really looking forward to having you at our Queensland events. And I know there might be a lot of people who follow you online and read all the things that you have to say on your blog and follow you on Twitter. But what is maybe something that people might not necessarily be able to gain from you from following your online profiles? What's mysterious about you, Holly?
Oh, there is nothing mysterious about me. I wish there were. But the thing that most people would know that is the highlight of my life are my two little dogs who are sitting right underneath me. It's probably not thrilling to other people, but they are the reason that I have happiness every day when I get to see their smiling faces. So that I don't share online much.
Excellent. Well, it's great to have a fellow dog lover on the call. I must admit that. Holly, if we talk maybe about what excites you in your field and your role about education, what are you most passionate about? I think you and I have sort of been to plenty of events together, and we share a lot of similarities, and I think I know where this is going to end up. But would you mind just talking to our viewers a little bit about what really gets you up in the morning and what are you most passionate about in education?
So I'm most passionate about what devices can do for kids and student voice and learning and making thinking visible and hearing from every kid in our class. And I'm personally passionate about sharing the message of how we do that. So some people, they get like devices, Chromebooks, iPads in their classroom, and then they use them to do what I like to call 1985 teaching. And so I'm super passionate about helping people see how they can do more 2008 teaching with these devices so that we can hear from every kid. We can allow them to understand who they are as learners. We can allow them to demonstrate their knowledge using these devices rather than taking multiple choice question tests. And so that is what literally does get me up in the morning, that and my two dogs.
Excellent. Well, Holly, maybe you might be able to reveal some insights about your keynote. So you'll be doing the keynote for Rockhampton and Townsville. What will be the main message that you hope that you can impart to the audience? What do you think that our educators will be walking away with once they hear you speak?
So if you'll click on this slide, Anthony, I'm going to put up a slide about our Gen Z learners, Gen Z for those of you in Australia. And I'm really passionate about talking about how these kids are different. And they're still learners the way we were learners, but they learn in bite-sized chunks of information. They do incredible things outside of the classroom, and how it is that we can understand them as clients and learners and really focus how we do our teaching for the rest of the school year and into the next one, many for you guys months away, but how we can understand who they are and we can employ something. It's a word I learned in South Africa, Sawubona. And Sawubona means I see you and I respect who you are. And if we like look at Gen Z and say, Sawubona, I see you. I know that you're different, that you were kids born into a world with smartphones, tablets, and computer, and you don't even know that Google didn't exist. Like if we think about these kids, don't know a world without Google. And if we can really respect that in these kids, and that's what the keynote is about. Like, how do we do that? What does learning look like when we do that? So that's what the keynote is. I every time I give it, I end up crying. People in the audience end up crying and laughing. So I think it's a really a fun keynote.
Excellent. We'll be looking forward to it. We don't want to give too much away, but it certainly sounds pretty exciting. Chris, anything you want to ask Holly at this stage?
I want to see all these fun people crying. That's the best bit.
Laughing and crying.
But laughing and crying. They say a good keynote should leave you laughing and crying. So, and yours does.
Hopefully. Well, I don't know. I don't want to make people artificially cry, but I do tell a story from some students of mine that I can barely get through it.
Yeah, I know. I think I'm going to give a different talk in Queensland than I have given in other places. But, yeah, sometimes you tell stories from things that happen to you in the classroom and you can barely get through saying them because they're so deeply emotional. So I totally dig where you're coming from.
And I think that most people in Australia know I am obsessed with Australia. I love everything about Australia. You can see.
What's that picture on the wall behind you there, Holly?
So I'm super excited to come. And the best part for me about learning from Australian educators, because I find they are the best in the world, literally heads and shoulders above others. So I so enjoy coming and learning with the Aussies.
Cool. It's definitely, just having spent a few weeks in the US for like just the last couple of weeks, you're right, there's a different conversation that takes place. And I think the conversation in Australia tends to be much more obviously about pedagogy than tools.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I enjoy it so much, because that's what, like, and we're going to talk about some of the sessions I'm going to do so we can jump in based on that. Like the Google Infused Classroom and the sessions I'll give are based on pedagogy. Like, I don't want to hear, this is how you use Google Forms. I want to understand how you use Google Forms to impact teaching and learning, although none of my sessions are actually going to talk about Google Forms, but they're really going to look at this dynamic of 3 things that we can do when we have devices in our classroom. How do we use them to make student thinking visible? How do we use them to hear from every student and allow kids to share their work? Because the truth is, kids learn best from each other. And if we allow them to share their work, they get to learn from each other. So, and that conversation is starting to be had here, but I have noticed that Australia has been having it for quite a while.
Oh. Yeah, I think that's true. I'm looking forward to your sessions. I know every time I've seen you do some of these sessions in the past, they are so sort of richly, there's so much teaching wisdom in them. And it's interesting, I actually have a slightly different approach. I don't mind talking about tools. I think tools are important, but always through the lens of what you do with them.
Right.
You know, never
right.
like
Exactly.
the tool just for its own sake, but always have that question at the back of, okay, so here's this cool thing and it's great and look at all the cool things you can do with it, but now what? What are you going to do with it on Monday? How are you going to use this to leverage learning? That's the question you've got to keep asking, and hopefully that's the question we do ask in summits. You know, it's not just learning cool stuff.
I think we are talking about the same thing then, Chris, but I love your sessions too. I've always learned from you, and I love the conversations I get to have with Anthony, because we feel the same way about kind of disrupting and shaking up learning. And it's a power team.
Yeah. Well, I'm really excited about the fact that we were able to bring this to Queensland too, because, Queensland is a state where the government in Queensland has a little bit of a closed approach to cloud services. So it's always been difficult to get sort of cloud-based things happening certainly in the public schools in Queensland because of what amounts to some arcane legislation in Queensland that has made it difficult in the past. But the Catholic school system there and a lot of the independent school systems, they're totally open to this stuff. And I'm excited because I think all of this then ultimately helps people understand that there's so much power in what, Google and other cloud services, Flipgrid and all those other kinds of things. there's so much power in those things that, like, to not give that to students just seems kind of crazy. So yeah, the fact that we're doing this in Queensland is kind of a big deal, and I'm really excited about bringing it there. Second time to Rockhampton, first time to Townsville. To bring it to the far north of Queensland like that, it's very exciting.
Yeah, absolutely, Chris. So echo your thoughts 100%. And it's even ironic, Holly, in terms of what we're talking about, in terms of disruption, that, you know, it's a shame, I guess, really, that for me, it's the students at the end of the day that are the ones that suffer if we don't really leverage these cloud services and just technology in general. So it's definitely a real feather in the cap to be able to put sort of an event like this in the Queensland region, because the more that this sort of happens, I think hopefully the more inroads we can make, I guess. Just before we wrap up, Holly, why don't you maybe talk a little bit about the author in you and maybe some books that you might be bringing as well?
So I'll be bringing HyperDocs, which I'll also be doing a session on. I will be bringing the Google Infused Classroom, and I'm going to look at some of the needs of Rockhampton and Townsville, and pick a few others that I'll bring as well to give away to educators. And I also wanted to say, based on what you guys said about Queensland, I think that the Gen Z keynote is going to be a perfect fit, because it kind of says we have to rethink this because these are the kids that are in our classroom. And so I hope there'll be administrators and people in power who can hear the why. I think that'll be powerful.
Yeah, I think so too. We're really looking forward to it. Chris, let's think about wrapping this up. Where would people go if they wanted to find out more about what's on offer at Townsville and Rockhampton?
Well, if you just go to edtech.team and you can do a bit of a search around there and go into the Summits link and you'll search on Australia and you'll find them there. And but there are direct links, events.edtech.team.com/Townsville 2018 or /Rockhampton 2018. And both of those URLs will get you directly to the registration sites where you can learn more about what sessions are on and who's going to be there and what's happening and everything else. You know, if any Queenslanders are watching this, spread this video around, guys. Let people know, because one of the things we constantly hear about our events, two things we always hear about our events. At the end of them, the majority of people are saying, this is the best PD I've ever had. I've learned so much at this, I can't believe it. And the second thing we hear a lot of, I wish more people were here and I wish more people had known about it. You know, so we just got to try and make sure that everyone finds out about it before the event rather than after the event.
Yeah,
so spread
absolutely.
the word.
We'll drop a couple of links to the comments section but underneath this YouTube video, but certainly feel free to share it to any Queenslanders or anyone else around Australia or anyone you know that think might benefit from attending these summits in September and October. Thank you, Chris, for joining us this morning. Thank you, Holly. We're really excited to see you this September and October. You've never been to Queensland, have you?
No, I haven't been to Queensland. And I also want to say I'm going to bring some American treats for people. So that'll be fun too.
Treats are good. Treats are good. All right. Thanks, everybody. And for all of you watching as well, we hope to certainly see you at our Queensland Summits this September and October. For now, bye-bye.